Hi, I'm Sue Ellam and I'm a tarot reader, and I have been for about 25 years, and I'm using the Mythic Tarot, which are based on Greek mythology.
Hello, I'm Carrie Beleno, intuitive Reiki master teacher and spiritual life coach, and I am the keeper of the questions. However, this question is from me personally, and none of these questions have really been from me. And if you're watching this, we've either gone public with it, or you are perhaps in my colleague group who I think would benefit from this answer, depending on what the answer is. So my question, it's not, I haven't quite formulated it, but my question is, when the pandemic hit, those of us who have been in a position of supporting humanity in a spiritual sense, supporting humanity through this, the buzzwords are calling it ascension, transition, the breaking down of the new structures and the rebuilding of an equitable humanity. We that have been working toward that for years or decades knew exactly what the pandemic was bringing. We knew it was a breakdown of structures. We knew a rebuild was going to happen. We knew it was to unite humanity in a new way. We knew it was to enlighten people to a new way of thinking, a new belief system. And so we were all very positive of that. Of course, I think most, if not all of us, were shocked at the depth of this, at the ferocity of all of the structures being hit at the same time: medical, economic, political, social, but still, again, not completely surprised. What my question is revolving around is that there are so many ideas or theories out there, both for rebuilding and also for where society is headed, and perhaps you want to call it the darker energy behind some of it. And I'm finding for myself, and I think I speak for others, that it's hard for us to have an immediate knowing. Those of us who are attuned to our intuition know. We know when something feels right. We know when something feels wrong. We know when something is pure. We know when something is tainted. And I'm having trouble deciphering those things now. So I'm having trouble deciphering if this new economic plan is good, bad. I'm having trouble deciphering if this person with this idea is just a wolf in sheep's clothing. I can't decipher what to put my energy behind, because it all seems right, true, and it all seems false at the same time. So either my question is, why is that? And I suspect I may know the answer to that. Or more importantly, how do we navigate it? And where do we put our attention, since I can't figure it out.
It's like a melting pot at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. So the pandemic hit and it was instantaneous. It was like, oh, we know why this is happening. This feels like this. And there wasn't really any question among us, except a little shock. Now there's no clear group to join. There's no clear person or movement to get behind, because it all feels true and worthy and false and a waste of time at the same time.
Yeah.
Not a waste of time, energy. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say there, but.
Yes, because we're changing as well, aren't we?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's have I'll take some cards on all of that.
Yeah, sorry, it's a lot, but.
Okay. All right. Starting off saying we're restless. We feel we can do more with our lives, but all the pieces aren't in place yet. It's just a very small fire that's being lit, but it needs to grow. So our timing isn't right. It's not our time yet. And I think that is why there's a lot of confusion about going on, because as you said, everything is happening. And, you know, I myself get all these things, one from the right, one from the left, and everything in the middle. And my, you know, me, not everybody is all bad and not everybody is all good, you know. So even people who've got really ill intentions towards others can sometimes do something which is a benefit, because it happens to be a benefit to themselves. And some people that ultimately are trying to do the right thing can make a terrible mistake. And so everything is in, as I said before, a melting pot. But our time, we're not, I think things haven't settled enough. Everything is bubbling, everything is boiling, and we have to wait for the pot to be turned off for things to settle. So at the moment, our timing isn't yet. That's why we haven't got a handle on where to go, because we are changing as well. You know, we might have very strong belief systems, or have been, we've learned our spiritual journey, learned our spiritual lessons, sometimes on old paradigms, and those are no longer relevant. So we are also trying to find our way in this new time to come. And we know we can do more, but we haven't quite got out of the old yet. So what I was just being shown is like a person there's two cliffs and there's a great big chasm, and they've got 1 foot on one side and 1 foot on the other. And but at the moment, the chasm is too wide. So they're kind of basically doing the splits, and they need help to be pulled one side or the other, because they can't physically move themselves, because the chasm's too wide. So we have to wait for the help to come. And I'm just being shown somebody with a lasso who can kind of send and then pull us over. But at the moment, we've got 1 foot on each side, and we're split in the middle, and we can't physically go to one side or the other, because we don't have all the pieces. We don't have the help we need. And there's not enough people united at the moment. I think there's a lot of people in fear at the moment. And as soon as we get into fear, we cut off our intuition, we cut off our guidance. So we have to also, these people who've been doing the work for a long time have got to get out of fear. And, you know, you can go on to any of the social media platforms, and there's certain spiritual people who are very steadfast, and then there's others that you can see fear is coming in to what they're saying. And so until until we until we personally get rid of our fear and get into a place of acceptance, a place of quiet, we're not going to have the unity to get things moving. But at the time, as I said, at the moment it's early days and things aren't set yet. We have to lighten up. We have to stop taking things so seriously. When we look at all the structures on the earth, people not having money and the banks foreclosing and taking away their homes, or we've got political people in charge in many countries that don't care about the population as long as they have a nice life. We've got the pharmaceutical industries, which some of the things and some of the medical things are really beneficial, but there's so much money to be made in it and there's in some countries there's no kind of regulation or no kind of responsibility. So if somebody dies, they don't have to be accountable. So there's a lack of accountability. So with that, it becomes a money-making machine and less about the patient, more about the bottom line. And we've got all of these things which are affecting our day-to-day lives. And it becomes very heavy and it becomes very fearful. And we forget that this life of ours is only 70, but mind you, people are living longer. But this isn't going to go on forever. The people that are running these institutions, they're going to be 6 foot under one day. The younger generation are going to come up, and all these things that are going on now are going to become a distant memory because it's a different energy. The children being born now have got a different energy, a lighter energy. They are having a hard time because the adults are messing them up, messing everything up. I'm talking about the older adults, and so when you come in as a light being, which a lot of the youth are now, it's very oppressive when you have all these kind of old men mainly telling them how to live their lives, which is not to their benefit at all. And so it's a completely different world. So we need to lighten up. We have to realize this is temporary. This is not a permanent thing. Because we maybe don't have money today doesn't mean we don't have it tomorrow. It's just our belief that this will always be bad, that holds that negative energy. So by lightening up, having some fun, even if I know some of the lockdowns are being lifted, but then they're being put into place again. Get onto Zoom, get onto Skype, chat to people. I've got friends that have, get in touch with their families and they all cook together and they all eat together, though they're in different countries, that kind of thing. People are taking this so seriously, forgetting that we are spiritual beings living a material lifetime, and this material lifetime comes to an end. And the people that are doing the real damage, if what I believe to be true is true, they're not going to reincarnate again. They're going to be on the naughty step for a while until they learn that what they've done isn't a good thing. So in the ascension, the new earth, there's going to have to be a certain energy level that people will have had to get to, a certain spiritual understanding to actually be incarnated into that reality. So the people that are trying to get all the money for themselves, trying to have all the power and putting the fear into people, their time is very short, maybe 30 years, for most of them, and maybe only 10 years or less for many of the others. That is not a long time, especially when people are in their teens and 20s. Those people are going to be gone, blink of an eye, and they will be a lesson in history of what not to do for the future. And so it is important. I know I was long-winded, but it is important to lighten up, have some fun. Don't take it so seriously, because as soon as you let these people into your head, you've lost control. You know, they rent a space in your head, and then you give them your power. So take your power back, have fun with life, and get in. You know, if you're short of money one day, you know, and you've got a group of friends, you know, I remember one point of my life, we had there was a kind of when I was in Portugal, I had a friend, and we didn't have money really, but we had this 20 escudos note, and you know, whoever needed it had it. So it meant that we supported each other. In my many years ago, when I was kind of part of you know, a kind of adopted part of a Jamaican family, they have something called, I don't know if it's still going now, but they had something called the partner. And if there's any Jamaicans or maybe West Indian people watching, they might know about this. But they had the partner, and every month, it used to run for a year, and every month they would agree to put a certain amount of money in. It was like a savings thing. So say it was £20 or $20 or whatever. And every month they put that in. And then if somebody had maybe a wedding or their child was graduating or something, that month they claimed all the money. So say there was 10 people, so they'd get like £200 for that month when they needed it. So, and every person in that group had 1 month when they got all the money. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. There's always ways you can support each other, you know, without one person always giving, you know. So that just popped into my mind, but I thought that was a really good. But this card, going back to it, is lighten up, have some fun. You know, don't let these people take over your life, because you definitely don't take over theirs. Keep a vision of what you want, of how you want life to be, how you envisage your life, not a negative, oh, well, I'm going to be destitute, and I'm going to lose my children, and all these sorts of things, all these fear patterns that people can fall into. What we need to do is hold the vision of the new earth, the reality that we personally would like to live in, and don't let anyone distract us. You know, we want to live in peace. So don't listen to the news about so-and-so or kind of leaders of countries with their egos, and you know, they've got to win and they're willing to send everybody to war. Don't listen to those stories. Keep hold of that vision of this is a peaceful world where we get on with our neighbors and we support each other. That whatever your reality is. I remember somebody once saying that they thought ascension and the new earth was all about us kind of floating around in kind of white robes, and we didn't eat, we didn't, we just kind of, for me, I thought, well, if that's what it is, I don't want it. You know, how boring is that? But that was that person's particular vision of some kind of very high spiritual thing when you're floating around on clouds, as it were. But, you know, I thought, what about people who love to make clothes? What about the people that love to cook? You know, and I'm not saying it's going to be a facsimile of this planet, but there's different people have different passions. And so therefore, hold on to your own particular passion. I mean, I want to travel, but to travel without any thought of
Diseases,
danger.
viruses.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. But so to travel safely and enjoy different people, different cultures, different, just hold on to that vision and don't focus on what you don't want. Don't focus on the people who are trying to keep us in fear because we're less trouble to them that way. You know, if they can persuade us that we can't win, then they've won. If we believe that. And
so, light workers, this is for you. Do not put your energy into the 1% or the cabal or the dark entities or the ETs that are here to manipulate us. It's really important that we get our energy and focus off of that chatter and onto what Sue is advising us to do.
And be patient. Everything happens at the right time and not before. But this is also about isolation in a way. And I'm not talking about lockdown and all this sort of thing. I'm talking about taking time out to yourself to listen to what your inner voice is telling you. Always keep checking in, meditation, introspection. Keep your core centered, keep grounded, be patient. You know, you can, there's it's like the naughty, destructive children aren't going to be there forever. Just be patient. Our time is coming, but it's not quite ready yet. But it will come. We just need to, just because it hasn't come yet, doesn't mean it never will.
Or it's not cooking.
Absolutely. But we just need to keep our vision very clear and not get distracted by all the disruption and the selfish children, basically.
The ones who aren't playing nice.
Absolutely, and having tantrums when they don't get things their own way. And trouble is, they get old enough that when they have tantrums, they hurt a lot of people. It's not like having a tantrum
Right.
of a 7-year-old, So, but be patient. Our time is coming, but it's only the beginning. And we also have to be open to change, because when we get into our meditation, our introspection, then we will be directed in different ways of doing things as well. And I think the age of the guru is gone, because a lot of the people who have written books in the past and have been really successful, and people have followed them and listened and hung on every word, they are also having to update. And if they don't update their own knowledge, they're going to be old news. So it's all right, it's all very well if you've written 10 books in the past that have been bestsellers and millions of people around the world, listen to you. But people are getting their own messages now. That was kind of the beginning of it with the self-help books, to bring people into the new age. It's like when I trained as a spiritualist medium, you be in touch with people who passed over and things like that. But for me, once the life after death had been proven, I didn't feel to do that anymore. This is why I went over to the cards and things, because life after death has been proven. And for, you know, either you accept it or you don't, but it's out there, whereas it wasn't out there, you know, in my youth. It was kind of, it was, you know, you'd see films with kind of very, very woo-woo, as you call it, people with kind of scarves and big earrings and, you know, or people floating around and stuff. It's different. We just need to be patient and don't think that the people who have ill intentions are winning. They're not. But they're going to, it's like a drowning man. They are going to get stronger for a while because they're desperate. They're
so
desperate.
It's impossible for us to tell at this point who the desperate people are, meaning I'm just, and we don't have to talk about this specifically, but I'm just going to throw this example out. Bill Gates. Some people are looking at him as a vaccine hero who's throwing money into saving us. And some people are seeing him as a manipulator who is just trying to control the population. And both of those seem true, and both of those seem false. And it's, I believe, impossible for people like us who have this intuition and this knowing to discern which is actually truth and which is actually false. So at this point, your advice is to say, don't put any energy into it at all. Yep. Not for the truth, not for the false, because we can't discern it yet.
Absolutely. And, you know, and also I think we're talking about Bill Gates. I mean, Dr. Fauci is also under question.
Right. All of everybody in higher, Trump, Johnson, everybody. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Tell. I think what we have to do is be very, going back to this here, listen to what's true for us. Because it's a bit like, you know, with all this thing about the virus being a hoax. Maybe it is to people who've never had any effect of, you know, from it. You know, I think that people can start off in really good ways, and then power can corrupt, money can corrupt, and we don't know. So maybe some of the earlier things were fine, and then it became too much about the money, too much about the power. So people change course as well. Not everybody is brought up to be bad, but okay. So I just asked about this, and it's got everything's going to be exposed. There's going to be illumination. We are going to get to know. We are going to know exactly where we're going. We're going to know other people's path as well. It will become clear, and we will also know on an intuitive level, you know, whether we can trust it, because it's also, we don't know who's written the articles either.
Right. Even if it comes out, this is the truth from the horse's mouth, we don't even know if it happened.
And who the horse is.
Correct.
So we will find out what we need to know. But even with people, as you mentioned with Bill Gates, for instance, even with him himself, he is also, his contract to this earth, this lifetime, could be to wake people up to not just accept everything that's given to them without question. That, you know, we have to be responsible for ourselves. And until we have, we are in a place of danger, we don't take responsibility. We just go along with, you know, what our beliefs have always been, and so we get kind of stuck, and we don't know what is what's for our own good. You know, what's come to mind, which is, I don't know, it's tenuously on topic, but I watched a TED talk yesterday, and I can't remember the lady's name, But she said she was driving, her husband was driving along and she was in the passenger seat minding their own business, and this woman kind of came out of nowhere and hit them 45 miles per hour, and they were going in the other direction 45 miles an hour. I mean, nobody got killed or very seriously hurt, but they had to go to the hospital. But in the hospital, this woman who was giving the talk said she had a scan to make sure everything was okay, and they found a lump in her lung, and it all transpired. She had to have surgery and everything like that. But she said basically that woman had saved her life. So because we don't know what our contract is. Maybe we have a vaccine that Bill Gates has sent over, which has either made us sterile, and I've heard that one, or has kind of given us vaccine damage.
Microchip, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we have, but then from that, we can go out and help many other people and use our experience in order to, maybe that is our journey, that we are going to be damaged by something that this soul has done in order to start off a movement to make sure that soul can never do that to anybody else in the future, that they're stopped. But it's all about life lessons and contracts, and for people to be responsible for their own lives and stop blaming other people
and fearing other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably one of the hardest things as we're moving into this ascension, or whatever you call it, for me, is that I am hoping we are at the point where the Bill Gates of the world don't have to inflict any trauma in order for us to help or change our direction or form a coalition or help others. Like, I'm hoping that we can transcend the trauma part of it so we can just do what we need to do. And that's the way I see the ascension working, is from a non-trauma based direction.
Absolutely. And plus the fact, it's not important in some way for us to know everything about what Bill Gates is or isn't doing, or anybody in that kind of position, because this is something, if he is acting from ill intent, this is something that he is building up karma for himself for the future, whether it be this lifetime or the next lifetime. But if he can't kid the universe. He can kid maybe millions of people, and some people will benefit from his products and some people won't. I think there's always that element as well, but he will have to face his maker the same as all of us. And so he will, when somebody's done something wrong, everyone's clamoring, we want to see justice, we want to see justice. It's not our business, the justice for everybody, different individuals. They will get their justice at some point or other. So he has to be coming from a pure heart. And there will always be people that will naysay him for one reason or another. So it's we said we don't know where the sources are. It could be somebody that didn't like him at college. Who knows?
Right. So the ultimate message in that statement that you just made is that the universe always errs on the side of light. The universe always is fighting, for lack of a better word off the top of my head, for what's highest, most loving, most equitable, most harmonic. it isn't going to tip to the side of destruction.
Yeah, because when something is right, think how effortless it is. Everything just falls into place. And look at how difficult it is when you're trying to do something that isn't for, it errs on the side of the darkness. It's difficult. You have to keep secrets. You have to remember what you said to who. You have to also try to avoid
Burn the records. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got to avoid the people you've done the harm to because they might be out to get you. And so you do that, and you might seem to have all the money and stuff like that, but do you sleep? Do these people sleep well at night? Mm-hmm. Do they have to have extra security because somebody wants to take a pot shot at them? How can you have peace in your heart when you've got so many people that hate you because of the things you've done? So, power is very much overrated, I think. Well, power at all costs, put it that way.
Right. And I don't think the universe will err on that side. For those of you who are afraid that the microchips are going to take over, I don't think we're heading into a dystopian society, because I believe universe will prevail.
Absolutely. And the body can heal, because even if we were microchipped and we don't believe it's going to harm us, our body will expel it somehow. Somehow or other, we could have an accident and think that's terrible, but somehow or other the microchip gets lost in it, or it can just get into our bladder or something, and then we expel it. It will be, or it gets neutralized in one way or another. It will only harm you if you believe it can, and that you're always going to be trapped. But it's standing up for your right as well. As an aside, I had a grocery delivery the other day, and I just ordered like a couple of cans of beer and some lemonade because I was going to have some shandy because it was a warm day. Thought it was a good idea. And the driver came with kind of food items and stuff as well. And he wanted my birth date. And I said, no, because it's like, you've got to be, I said, I'm obviously over 18, but he said, well, you've got to have your birthday. I said, in that case, take it back. So.
Oh, because of the liquor. Right, yeah, right.
Absolutely. So, and I thought, nah. And it's not because I'm shy about my age or anything, but, it's about your personal data. You're being asked to hand it over to random strangers who will then have your name and your birth date. And if, so it was just, but this has become just a natural thing. People just handing out kind of their personal data to people on the phone or anybody that asks. And it's not a fear-based thing. It's just that nobody's business. And it was just, I thought, well, I have a glass of, squash instead. Wasn't a big deal. It just thought, oh, a shandy would be nice. But I'm not going to hand over personal data. And I think people need to be a bit more resistant to that as well.
If it doesn't bother you and you're okay with it, there's no sense into dropping into fear around it, because that's your belief structure.
Yeah, I just object. I think it's invasive.
We all have things like that.
Sure. Absolutely. So
before we call it a day on this, I do have one more question, if you don't mind.
Nope.
And I know this is long, but you mentioned early on that visual, which I really loved, about straddling the chasm. And you said that we haven't been thrown a lasso yet to pull us to one side or the other because that person isn't here yet. So I'm assuming you don't sense, or maybe it needs a card, I don't know, but I'm assuming you don't sense it's a physical savior. Is it an individual person for each of us, or do you feel like it's more an ideology or more of a uncovering? Who's throwing the lasso?
I think it's when, I'm going to take another card, but I think it's what it is when we actually know which side we're going to jump to. And then when we're absolutely...
that person will show up to help us to that side.
Yeah. Or it can be the universe will set things up for us to get to that. Okay. But what's important is we don't hold on tightly to what we believe, we don't believe, because if we remain stubborn, then we get stuck in the past, we get stuck, and we'll be forever straddling that canyon. You know, we have to go with the flow, and then just, I don't think we have to make a meal out of it. I don't think it's a case of battling and what do I think, what do I don't think, what don't I think. Well, actually, this is just reminding me what I came to a conclusion some months ago that my opinion didn't actually matter. It's all very well having an opinion, but what do we base that opinion on? What
Past
the
experience.
Other people, past experience, but what other people are telling us about
right.
something, and what it doesn't matter. I don't have to have an opinion on everything, because an opinion, what it does is it gets us stuck in a place, and our opinion sometimes becomes our identity, and then it becomes even more difficult to budge, because it's like we're getting rid of our identity in some way. So for instance, if our opinion is that, you know, no woman is worthwhile unless she's had children, because this is what women do. You know, we have that opinion that all women have to have children. And there are some people that believe that way. I mean, I've come across that myself in the past. But that's somebody else's opinion. They don't take into account individuals, and basically they have other purposes for their lives. You know, some women don't have children, but then they adopt, you know, many others, or they do something great for other kind of causes. But that opinion, what it does is it puts up a barrier between you and any childless woman, because you automatically are in judgment. So it's important not to get stuck in our own belief systems. Be prepared to recognize that what we believe will possibly do a complete 180-degree turn tomorrow, because something else will turn up. But that's why it's so important to keep tuned in to ourselves and not just drink in all the outside stuff, because if we keep doing that, we will never ever know where we're at, and we also won't be able to know exactly which side of the canyon we are meant to be on, because we will be listening to other people's opinions, and opinions aren't necessarily truth. They're just opinions. So that is something that we need to let go of.
Or something you found on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Because, you know, in hindsight, we suddenly realize, oh, our opinions on that, we didn't have all the facts. So I think that's what's important. But there's but just keep focused on what is right for you. For some people, it's wildlife sanctuaries. Other people, it's the homeless. Other people, it's cleaning the oceans. It's what they are drawn to, what becomes their passion. Just hold on, visualize what your passion is, and don't ever let anyone say, oh, you can't do that, because they're usually saying that because it's not their passion. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't imagine doing it themselves. So why would anybody want to do that? Therefore, it must be worthless. Just keep. We will get illumination, but only when we've let go of our opinions and our own belief systems, and we keep we keep ourselves clear of attachment to outcomes, and we keep ourselves clear of judgment. That is when we will get the illumination, because we will get the illumination energetically. Because I know there's certain people that I can't watch on television, because my whole energy, it just kind of, I get repelled, and it doesn't get to my head. There's something about that person, and I think, I immediately kind of pull back. And there's other people that I listen to them and my heart opens. And that's how we will know if these people are working for the negative or the positive, of how we physically react to those people when they speak. And then we will have our answers.
Mm-hmm. But we can't do that till we declutter, light workers. So ditch the opinions, straddle the chasm for a while longer, and don't buy into all of the reports that we read, and hang in there. Contact us for support.
Yeah. So if it resonates.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue.
My pleasure. And it's bye from me.
We'll see you again real soon.
Okay.